Mini die cutting machines are not cheap, and with so many on the market, how do you know which one is the best? Or if it's even worth buying one at all? Welcome to my Marvelous Minis series, where I'm testing every mini die cutting machine I can find so you don't have to. Hello creative friends, it's Gwen. Today I'm kicking off this brand new series by testing the WeRMakers Mini Evolution against the Sizzix Sidekick. Let's find out together which of these mini die cutting machines is the very best for paper crafters. Now I'm sure you're wondering, how will I know which machine is the best? Well, I'll be ranking them, of course, because ranking things is fun. My categories: performance, price, and practicality. The 3 P's. Every machine in this series will get a score out of 5 for each of these categories, with the total best score being 15. The total score will determine where the machine sits on my Marvelous Minis leaderboard, which I'll update after every single episode. Now, with that all sorted, let's jump on into today's machines. This is the WeRMakers Mini Evolution. Let's see what comes inside the box. First up, a sheet of simple instructions. We then have a stack of plates and 2 embossing folders. This is a very simple spot and then almost like a chevron style stripe. We have plates labeled with the letters B, E and C, and then those match this chart here. C is the cutting plate, so this is the surface that you'll place your dies onto. B is a buffer plate, and then E is an embossing plate. To me, plate E is ever so slightly thinner than plate B, and that's the one that you'll use for your embossing folder. And I'm guessing that's because an embossing folder is ever so slightly thicker than one of your metal dies. Let's see what else is in here. Here is a set of circle dies. There's a pack of paper here to get creating with right away. And the machine itself. Anything else? No. Isn't that pretty? I love too how the plates are purple. They coordinate perfectly. Now, I know we're creatives, so numbers aren't always our thing, but these ones matter. Let's check on the vital stats for this machine. Starting with price. These are available at Spotlight stores in Australia for 100 Aussie dollars. It weighs 1.4 kilograms, which is around 3 pounds. And the feeding slot size, that is 3 inches wide. I really do love how they've included everything I need to get started, including the paper. So let's now compare this to the Sizzix Sidekick. This is the Sizzix Sidekick starter kit. Let's see what's inside this box. First up, instructions, then some plates. This one is marked embossing pad, and these 2 are marked cutting plate. Some more goodies. We have a stamp set and a coordinating die set. And then here's the machine itself. Anything else? Nope. This is a 49 and Market collab, so it's a really pretty shade of green. Let's quickly check these. These do seem a little more detailed than the Evolution instructions, but we do not get paper with this starter kit, which is interesting. It's time for a few more numbers. Let's check the vital stats. This machine costs $124.99 Aussie dollars and weighs less than 1 kilogram, so around 2 pounds, considerably lighter than the WeRMakers Mini Evolution. Let's check the feeding slot width for this machine. It is 2.5 inches, so a full 1/2 inch skinnier than the WeRMakers mini evolution machine. And I think that extra 1/2 inch could make the world of difference. Here's what that looks like in real terms. Here's the difference in width. And there will be a lot of dies that do fit through this width, but won't fit through this width. So the first thing I notice is that we have a more expensive machine here with the Sizzix Sidekick with less possibilities, let's say. What's also interesting is that this is labeled as a starter kit, but it doesn't actually include any paper. Okay, so it's time to get crafty. Purely in the name of science, of course. It's time to start the tests. For each machine, I will be running 6 tests. The first test will be to test the machine with the supplies it comes with. I need to know just how good it is straight from the box. Then I'll move on into the control tests. I'm testing 3 different materials in every machine: standard cardstock, vellum, and glitter card, as these are the materials that many paper crafters use the most. If a machine struggles with any of these, you need to know. Then I'll test a more intricate die using that same cardstock, because intricate cuts are where things can go a little bit pear-shaped. The last test is embossing, because I know we're all using these machines for embossing just as much as we use them for die cutting. So that matters too. The same tests and the same supplies on every machine in this series so that we can really compare them side by side. So the very first test is to test the machine with the supplies that it comes with. And we've got lots to try for this machine. I will lock it into position onto my desk. I have pulled out my glass mat here. This surface, this marble effect surface, is actually just paper, and the suction cups that come on these machines do not work with paper, but they work perfectly with glass. So I do have my glass cutting mat at the ready, and there's just a lever here to get it to suction to that. So I'm going to just make sure that it is fully on the glass mat, and then just push this lever all the way down. And that feels very secure actually. So we have paper to try, which is very, very good. I think I might just use this cream one. And let's pop in, say, this chevron, I think would be nice. So in that goes, it fits perfectly. And then we need our, I'm guessing our C plate. This is where this machine doesn't actually say. Cutting plate, buffer plate. You know what? I think I will go buffer plate and embossing plate. That makes more sense to me because we're not cutting anything. So it seems odd that we would use the cutting plate. Let's give this a try. In we go. That's going through really nicely. Oh, that's lovely. Look at that. That's a lovely deep emboss. Let's try the spots. Cutting plate, embossing plate. I think the trickiest part is actually getting it started. Because you have to sort of hold it to get started. But once it's in there, it's fine. It's great. Let's look at this. Cute. That's lovely. Let's try the dies next. And what I might do is try this largest die, which is actually quite big. Let's measure that. That is a 2 3/4 inch circle, quite big. And so for this, we're going to need our cutting plate. And then we'll put the die onto the cutting plate. And then we will add, I'm guessing, the B buffer. Because we're not embossing, we are cutting this time. Let's put that through. Yeah, it's just that beginning part that's a little bit tricky. Oh. Beautiful. That's cut that out beautifully. Very crisp. And then we have the first impression on our cutting plate. I actually think this is really, really good. You've got something to get creating with right away, and everything's working really, really well. It would be interesting to see just how much pressure I need to have this suction cup come up. But so far, that's very, very strong. So I'm going to have to lift this label up to then remove it. Moving on to test number 2, and I'll be working with a simple die. This one is a Sizzix tag die, and I would guess that you would have something very similar to this already in your stash. And then my cardstock of choice for card making. It's actually this one from Spellbinders, and it is a smooth cardstock. So it's going to be the same cardstock that I use for all of these tests, and this will be the same simple die that I use. So let's run that through. So we want the cutting plate and the buffer plate and our simple die. I will go up the top here because I use all these small offcuts for filling in flowers and using on all of my teeny tiny dies. I think we will tape it here. This is not a magnetic plate, so it will move around if I don't tape it down. Let's pop that in. Oh, whoops, I didn't lock this into place. There we go. So it's this starting part that I'm finding the trickiest, because I want to hold this, I want to turn the handle, but I also want to have my hand here on the machine, and I only have 2 hands. There we go. So I'm starting to think that the width of this part of the machine, the base part, is going to make a bit of a difference. Let's see. Oh, that cut out beautifully. Let's try this same die on some vellum. This is the Tonic Studios Vintage White Vellum paper. I think it might be better to position the die towards the end of the plate, because then what we can do is really get this into the machine quite a long way before it starts to cut. Let's try that. I think that's easier. So where I can, I am going to position the die towards the end of the plate. There we go. Let's see. Beautiful. Let's try something a little bit trickier. This is Pinkfresh Studios Glitter Cardstock. And I'm choosing this because it is quite thick actually. It's considerably thicker than this card here. And obviously much, much thicker than the vellum. I'm a bit nervous about this one actually. I think if it's going to struggle with something, it's going to be this. Let's go this way so that I can tape that down. Buffer plate on top. And hopefully I can slide this in a fair way. Sometimes it is coming off the mat and I'm not sure why. Oh, it's doing this well. There we go. Let's see. One pass as well, and it's done it beautifully. There we go. So it looks like we have the power of the larger machine, but in a mini version. So I now know that this simple die works really, really well. Let's see how this machine goes with a more intricate die. For that, I'm going to use this one from Spellbinders. It is called Vivid Blooms, and it comes with so many different pieces. As you can see, some of the pieces are tiny. This is the kind of thing I really wanted a smaller machine for. I do a lot of cutting of these tiny dies, and it's nice to work with a tiny machine rather than having something huge filling up my desk. Let's do some leaves. Maybe this one? I've got some scraps here. Yes, let's do this. Let's do this leaf because it's quite detailed towards the bottom there. And then these tiny leaves here, I think they'll be great. Seems like a waste not to also cut a flower. So let's do this one. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so this is a little bit trickier because I do want to hold the machine here. I am trying to push the plate into the machine, but once it gets to a point, I can then hold it there. To be fair, it's probably just practice. There we go. Let's see. Beautiful. One pass. And it's cut those out perfectly. See how detailed this is, this fine leaf? It's cut that out just perfectly. That looks good. Let's pack this all away. I am going to keep all of these just in here with the dies. Waste not, want not. I know I'll use those. I keep all of these as well because there'll be another row of leaves that I could probably fit down this side. So I might actually put those two pieces of card in here with this. Keep that all together. And the last test for the cut and emboss machine is obviously to emboss. This is a super old embossing folder from my stash, and then the same cardstock from Spellbinders. Let's give this a whirl, shall we? I'm going to try and put it on this edge because the idea of this die is to create an edge for like a larger piece of paper, but I can cheat and I can put this piece in between my layers on, say, a scrapbook layout. So I'm going to need my buffer plate and my embossing plate for this. And I feel like this might be a little bit tricky to get into here. Let's make sure this is really secure. Okay. Oh, that was easy. There it goes. Okay. Oh, it's worked perfectly. Wow. Really, really clean emboss. Almost too well, actually, because you can see this line. But what I will do is this will end up being a paper layer. So it will be showing on my layout or project like so. Well, I think that went really, really well. Everything cut perfectly on just one pass. The embossing folder embossed beautifully as well. What a great little machine. The only one thing I am noticing is that over time it's losing its suction. It's coming away from the glass mat here, and I'm not entirely sure why, because when I first put it down, it's really, really secure, like really secure, but then something happens as you use it that makes it kind of come unstuck a bit. That's just a first quick observation, and I haven't figured out why that's happening. I don't know, maybe I'm knocking this. because that is so secure, like so secure. I don't know. In every episode of my Marvelous Mini series, I'll be testing mini die cutting and embossing machines, and any one of them could take the top spot on the leaderboard. I will leave links to each of the machines in the description box below, and those are affiliate links, so when you click them, you help make videos just like this possible, even if you don't plan to shop. So thank you so much for choosing to use those. Thank you. It's time to test the Sizzix Sidekick. So again, I'm going to place it onto my glass mat, and this lever works in the opposite direction. Oh, that's secure too. That feels very secure. Okay. So this machine did not come with any cardstock to test its own dies on, but I might just borrow a sheet from the WeRMakers Mini Evolution and test it using that. I think we'll do this little tag first. Okay, so that is embossing, and then these are cutting. So I'm guessing we can cut on either of these. Oh, so we've got our first problem. That paper is too wide. Here you can see the difference in the width. This paper from the other machine does not fit. So I am going to trim this down. That will work. And then we just want the 2 cutting plates. In it goes. It's interesting, this winder winds anti-clockwise and the other winder wound clockwise. Ooh, sharp, crisp. That is really nice. Okay, that works really well. Let's get through all of our other tests. So this is the standard die that we'll be using for all of the machines. It is very similar, and it is also the same brand, I believe, because this is a Sizzix Sidekick and this is a Sizzix standard die. So there's absolutely no reason why this wouldn't work. Let's give this a try. Oh, actually, I will try and have all of the cuts onto just the one cutting plate. Try and keep one cutting plate nice. I have to remember which way it goes. This way, this way, this way. Okay. I will say the suction pad on this machine has stayed stuck where the other one was not. That's beautiful. Okay, next is vellum. Let's do that same trick and put the die towards the bottom. Beautiful. Okay, next is glitter cardstock. Ooh. Oh. Okay, I think the pressure on this machine is a lot firmer. This was a little bit harder to get through. It's worked, but I did have to not force it, but I had to put more force on it than I did on the other machine. So that's interesting. I feel like the total sandwich on this machine is getting a lot more pressure than the total sandwich on the other machine, if that makes sense. So yes, it worked. I definitely think this is the thickest cardstock I would use if I was going to just run it through with the standard cutting plates. Interesting. Next up, I do need to try my intricate dies. And I think for this one, we will do maybe this leaf and maybe another set of those other leaves. Shall we do that? Where did those leaves go? Here. Let's do that. Let's tape them down just to make sure they don't go anywhere. We'll do this as one pass. Very cute. They have worked perfectly. And then let's do the other leaf now, just so that we've done both. Okay, that's very detailed and that's worked perfectly. Very nice. The last test is the embossing folder test. So I will need the embossing pad for that. And then just one of these plates. Let's do this one. And then let's do this paper for this one. I'll pop it on the edge again, same as before. And then we go this one and this one. I will also say I have not had to adjust the suction cup on this once. I had to do that quite a few times for the WeRMakers mini evolution. Oh, this is a bit firmer. Okay. Oh, beautiful. This worked lovely as well. Lovely crisp emboss there. So the one big thing I have noticed right away is that the suction cup on this machine seems to be better than the WeRMakers machine. This whole time I haven't had to adjust this once and it is still very, very much stuck. This little section here is smaller, which can be a bit of a tricky situation because as I mentioned, you're trying to hold this, you're getting ready to crank, but you also want to put your hand at the top here. Not such a big deal because this suction is doing such a great job. So on this machine, that's less of a problem compared to the WeRMakers one. All food for thought. I am very much looking forward to seeing how all of the machines compare to each other, and I will pick one ultimate winner. So here are the machines side by side, and it's actually the next day because I have run a little test overnight. I really wanted to get to the bottom of the clamp issue with the WeRMakers machine, so I have clamped them to my glass mat and just left them be overnight. And I'm very happy to report that both of the machines are super, super sturdy and still locked into position. So that tells me that there's nothing wrong with the clamp. It is actually something that's happening while I'm using the machine. One thing I did notice is that the clamp on the Sizzix machine clamps away from your working area. So this lever here is quite a distance from where you're fussing, putting your plates in and out. That's not the case on the WeRMakers machine. This is the clamp here, and it is actually on the front of the machine where you're feeding in your plates. So it's a lot easier for you to accidentally bump this lever than it is this one. It's definitely something to consider, but obviously now that I know that could happen, I'll be extra careful to steer clear of this area. All food for thought. I also thought this might be a good opportunity for you to see the machines side by side, because I actually haven't shown you that yet. So there you go, side by side. They are very, very similar machines, and I don't think you could go wrong with either of these options. The tests are done, results are in. It is time to score based on performance, price, and practicality. Let's find out which of these machines will take the top spot on the Marvelous Minis leaderboard. Starting with performance, for the WeRMakers Mini Evolution, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. It cut every material and embossed perfectly. The only issue I had was with that clamp function, and I will speak more on that in the practicality section. I'm going to give the Sizzix Sidekick 4 out of 5 stars here. It loses a point because of that glitter cardstock. That card is thick, and it did require quite a bit of pressure to get through the machine. So do that at your own peril. I'm not sure I'll be doing that again. All of the other materials were perfect. And in fact, if I had to choose which machine's cuts were cleaner and crisper, I would choose the Sizzix machine. Next up, let's talk price. For the WeRMakers machine, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I have left myself a little bit of wiggle room here because I know that there is at least one Amazon mini die cutting machine that I really want to try, and I know that's cheaper. Be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss any upcoming episodes. I'm going to give the Sizzix machine 3 out of 5 stars because it costs more and you get less cutting area. So the star rating represents value for money. The next section is practicality, and it is the most important out of all 3. It also is the one section that varies from crafter to crafter, so I can only speak from my own experience. It's really important that you know that WeRMakers did send me the mini evolution that I'm working with today. But I will always, always, always share my honest experience with you because I know you trust me. I would never want to break that trust, and that is always made clear to any brand who sends me anything. Having said all that, let's move on to the practicality scores. For the WeRMakers Mini Evolution, I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It feels slightly less sturdier than the Sizzix machine, even though it weighs more. The rolling mechanism does not seem to be of the same quality as the Sizzix machine, especially the handle. The clamp issue is a funny one. Now, I know it's not the machine, it is something that I'm doing while in use. So I need to keep experimenting and learn more to see if I can figure out what's happening there. That is super hard for me to rank because if I'm doing something wrong, I don't want to mark the machine down for that. I will report back once I know what it is. And if you happen to have one of these machines, the WeRMakers Mini Evolution, I would love to know your feedback. Is this happening for you as well? Or is it just a me thing? The Sizzix machine gets 4 out of 5 stars. The only thing I would change under this category is that plate width. I would have loved this machine to come with a 3-inch plate. I've done the math and the WeRMakers Mini Evolution received 12 points, making it our winner for today. It was super close though, with the Sizzix receiving 11 points, just 1 point in it. This really comes down to personal preference and price point. The machines were super similar, but the WeRMakers machine was considerably cheaper, so it got extra points for that. I was thinking about a real life test, and for me, it would be which of these machines would I take to a retreat if I could only take one? And that would be the WeRMakers mini evolution. So I do feel like today's results reflect that. The WeRMakers machine is best for a beginner. And I love that their starter kit actually includes everything you need to get started. The Sizzix machine would be better for a more seasoned crafter and someone who plans on doing a lot of die cutting, who's looking for a really strong and sturdy machine. It will be interesting to see how both of these machines go over time, because right now I can't speak about durability. From what I know so far, my guess is that the Sizzix machine will last longer, but we'll have to see. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, which machine will I be testing next? It's on its way, and I can't say just yet, but be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss episode 2. Not sure what to watch next? I think you'll really enjoy this one. Thank you so much for being here, my creative friend. I'll see you again really, really soon. Until then,